Hey, Joseph here. If you are new to the channel, I invite you to subscribe, to like, to comment, to share, to do all the things that a lot of the YouTubers say to get people to engage with the platform so that the algorithm can push it out for others to see. And I say that because there's a lot of information that I share here on this channel that you may not hear from any other content creator who's sharing similar information. And I'm not saying that to make myself look like I know it all or I have the key to all the knowledge here. And I'm also not saying that to make myself look like I want to be seen the most. Because a lot of what I share here is bigger than me, is bigger than you, is bigger than your neighbor, is bigger than my neighbor. But it's all connected. There are pros and cons to being popular with content, but there are also pros and cons to being unpopular with content. I want to talk about the pros, the privilege of unpopular content or content creators who are unpopular with content that could very well be popular, is that it gives you a chance to experiment creatively, explore options and ways of saying things and doing things that gives you that creative independence and that creative expression. Now, the pro of when the content goes viral or it becomes popular or the content creator becomes popular, then there is access, there are privileges to sponsorships, engagements, spaces that will allow your brand and who you are to flourish. But the con that comes with that is you are subjected to the thing that made you popular in order to maintain that access and maintain that privilege. Oftentimes when I listen back to what I say, I've never heard it from any place else, and then your response might be, well, Joseph, you might be a channeler. And then my response to that would be, I know. We all are channelers, believe it or not. We are all channeling information energetically through us constantly. But because we live in a society where there's a lot of greed and avarice, then ignorance is often what brings in the business. Meaning, the more less informed you are, the more popular someone becomes. And oftentimes, the more well-informed you are, the less popular you become. So the algorithm and all of the spaces in most of our society, it thrives off of you just going along with the go along because that's the way things are going along. Channelers, knowing this, they would often disguise themselves or disguise what they're channeling through the guise of some unknown entity. Now, this isn't to shade those who do that, because that is a protective mechanism at the end of the day. It's protecting their personal identity while also giving them space to share insightful information that they may not hear anywhere else. Because once upon a time, when you're sharing these insightful things, it could cost you your life. And this can create significant and reasonable fear and doubt in terms of what you share and how you share it. But we live in an information age right now where we have access to so much information. Why is that? Well, there is a pro and a con to that. The pro is that you have access to so much information that you may not have had access to years prior. But the con to that is that it causes an information war, meaning there's information to prove or disprove any belief that you decide to assemble. And this could bring up fear and worry in terms of your own beliefs, because everything will bring you back to your beliefs. And so the question now is, like, how does this relate to healing and dating and healing? How does this relate to healing? Well, the healing part of this is about resolving the part of yourself that has been protecting yourself from really expressing the fullness of who you are, whether you are popular or unpopular, whether you are seen or unseen, whether you are rejected or accepted. And this is an act of courage. How does this relate to dating? Well, dating is the art form of connecting on more than just a surface level, cordial, general way of connecting with someone else. Dating is more of the process of going beneath the surface to those intimate, sacred spaces mentally, emotionally, and even physically. At the end of the day, we are all social beings. We thrive off of our connections with each other. And if you're approaching the connections that you make from a space of self-protecting, then you're armored up. Your heart is armored, your mind is armored, your body is armored, which means nothing can get in and nothing can get out but conflict and confusion, which then becomes the fuel for more ignorance. You see how this works? So oftentimes this healing process will push you into the state of isolation, like where you're in your own bubble, where you have to draw a line in the sand to create a boundary. It's one of the first steps toward being more courageous, actually drawing a line in the sand and knowing. And so what's the reason for drawing the line in the sand is that you realize that there's some things around you that aren't working and that feel uncomfortable to you, your inner world. And in order to give yourself some space to connect to your inner world, you got to draw a line in the sand. And when you draw that line in the sand, this is now you taking responsibility for your role in this discomfort, this role in self-protecting, this role in guarding yourself, this role in feeling unsafe, this role in feeling insecure, this role in feeling like you can't speak your fullest truth. Yes, you do play a role in all of this. And oftentimes this is not the easiest thing to accept, because in accepting this, you now have got to grieve the loss of how you thought things should go, how you were taught to believe they should have been. All the shoulda, coulda, wouldas. So what this does is it becomes a huge reevaluation of your perception of things and your preferences. Yes, your dating preferences, your friendship preferences, your family preferences. Everything brings you back to you. Because in this space of isolation, you now get to see the parts of yourself that have been building friendships, building relationships, building family dynamics that were accommodating your brokenness, that were accommodating your insecurities, that were accommodating the parts of you that just simply felt unsafe. Oftentimes when it comes to dating, and even friendships, and even the family dynamics, you use those as a way of distracting yourself from that brokenness, distracting yourself from how unsafe you feel. What ends up happening is you start to experience more ways that you feel unsafe in those dynamics, more ways that make you feel insecure in those dynamics. And then you end up pointing the finger of blame at them, saying that, well, you need to change this, you need to do this, you need to do that. Where are you in this? That's the whole question. What is my role here? And if you've been in dating dynamics, friendship dynamics, family dynamics where you've suffered abuse, you've been victimized, you've been traumatized, you've been outcast, then the question is, well, how am I responsible for that? Like, what's the role do I play in my own abuse? Well, the role you play is the thing that you can't see. It's the mental and the emotional aspects that are playing and on replay in your head that you are giving your attention to. And whatever you give most of your attention to, that's what you'll get more of in your physical reality. Meaning, if your brain is constantly playing how bad you felt, how disempowered you were, and how it left you completely numb, then you'll be creating a series of events outside of yourself that will begin recreating that numbness, recreating ways for you to remain in that broken state. So therefore, by default, you will attract someone who will appear like, ooh, you make me feel safe. Ooh, you make me feel good. Ooh, you make me, you make me, you make me. And then as you explore that connection, guess what starts to creep itself up in that dynamic? Brokenness, trauma, confusion, neglect. You know, all those disempowered things. Sometimes they show up in blatant ways, and then other times they show up in very subtle ways. When you're in the space of healing, then you now get to become more aware of the blatant ways. You get to now disengage, or at least soften your mental and emotional attachment to those traumatic, broken experiences so that you can start to really get clear on what you want. Get clear on what is wholeness to you, what is healing to you, what does it feel like in your body, what does it look like in your mind. And when it comes down to it, the main definition of healing, if we want to put it in practical terms, is when you feel safe in your body, when you feel relaxed in your body, when your nervous system is not in fight or flight mode, when you are not thinking 5, 10, 20 steps ahead of you, you're not thinking 5, 10, 20 steps behind you. You are fully present, fully alert with where you are right now. This means in this right now moment, you're going to be faced with the parts of you that are broken, as well as the parts of you that are whole. It's in this space where you now have the divine opportunity to really revamp your focus. Because in revamping your focus, you now get to revamp that mental checklist of this ideal person, this ideal mate, this ideal thing that will come in and save you and bring you joy and make you whole and complete. You now get to look at this list and say, wait a minute, I've been using this list as a crutch. I've been using this as a way to make me feel good about myself. What you end up doing is you create more conflict for yourself, because you'll start sifting through the very people and places and things that may benefit your wholeness, but because they don't look like that mental checklist that you created in your mind, then it's a no. But then the twist here is you'll get that mental checklist when you commit to it, only to find out that everything that's on that mental checklist that has become physical represents everything that is broken within you. So this space that you're in is meant to be a space of surrender and honesty and transparency. So surrendering and healing is messy, because you now get to be honest with the parts of you and the parts of what you feel that have been suppressed. You now get to be angry in this space. You get to be sad in this space. But you also get to tap in and scooch over and lean into some joy and some happiness. And so the process here involves cultivating a self-care routine, or what I like to call a self-care ritual, meaning developing practical ways to feel good. One of the primary steps to feeling good is connecting with your breath. Are you breathing deeply? Go get some fresh air. Did you go outside, get some fresh air today? Go for a nice meditative walk. Talk to a trusted friend or a professional. Read some uplifting words, listen to some uplifting music, watch some uplifting content. These are practical things that you can do that will actually benefit your nervous system where you are right now, benefit your digestive system wherever you are now, and every cell in your body. This is you taking responsibility for your role in your own stuff. So when you start to feel regulated in your nervous system, you start to feel the ease and the relaxation in your body, then you can be more deliberate about the thoughts that you think. You can choose calmer, softer thoughts to think. You can choose calmer, softer feelings to feel. And your behaviors will begin to reflect that. And what you do without many times realizing it, you are now tapping into your wholeness. You are tapping into that space where you can be in your fullness, where you're able to express the fullness of who you are without having to disguise yourself. You're able to be who you are regardless of what people think or whatever they say. This is a powerful state to be in. Nobody can touch you. They can try. No weapon will be formed against you. The weapons will form, but they won't touch you, because you've allowed yourself to expand in such a way where you are now holding space for them to come in and feel the same joy and the same peace that you have. What you do in this space is that you begin to equalize the probability. Meaning, when you're tapping into your joy, you begin to equalize the probability of things not going your way in relation to the things that do go your way. Because when you're in a space where there's a lot of confusion and conflict, then the highest probability of things going your way is low. Things will most naturally go the opposite of what you want. Why? Because confusion and conflict and ignorance is the dominant energy force in the space. When you're feeding awareness and you're feeding joy and peace in the space that you're in, then guess what's going to be the most dominant energy force there? You see how this works? The process is about expanding this in such a way where everybody can take up space. Everybody's voice can be heard without fighting and fussing and chaos. That's healing. And so when you are reflecting your own healing, then the dating and the connections that you make in the dating scene will begin to reflect that as well. What happens when you're doing this, and I also want to make this clear in terms of the process of dating while healing, is you're going to deal with a lot of phases. And so the phases are fluctuating between this self-protecting and self-connecting aspect of yourself, where when you're beginning this, you're now exposed to a lot of your trauma. And so you're trauma focused in this space. And so when you're trauma focused in this space, then oftentimes when you're connecting with someone else, you are now comparing traumas. And depending on how similar your traumas are, that will create the connection. And then that mixed with your hormones will create and amplify that happy chemical dopamine. And then what you end up with is a trauma bond. Now, don't judge yourself for trauma bonding, because in this space you get access and you get information leading you toward the soulmate, twin flame, divine connection sort of journey that's trending now. And all those things are tools for you to develop a closer relationship with yourself and for you to get clearer with the dynamic of the relationship that you've cultivated. So that in that space, you're left with two separate options. The first option is to heal and resolve the trauma together as a unit, or heal and resolve the traumas separately as separate entities. This requires you to be completely honest with yourself, all parties to be completely honest with yourself. Because in this space, you are deeply connecting with those intimate, sacred parts of yourself that when you connect with that, your only intention is to share that harmoniously with another. That will be the ultimate intention, and all of the other dynamics will fall in line and it will come together based on that. What will satisfy you relationally when you're in that healing space is going to look completely different than what will satisfy you from a broken space. And this not only works in dating, but this works in friendships, this works in professional relationships, this works in family dynamics. And it all boils down to you committing to yourself enough, showing up for yourself enough to be able to see the physical evidence of this healing in all circumstances. I'm going to end on that note for today, but I appreciate you for sharing the space with me. And if any of it resonates well with you, feel free to comment, feel free to share, feel free to do all the things that most people say on the YouTube platform. And in the meantime, in between time, be kind to yourself, be gentle with yourself, and make the best of this right now moment and the right now moments to come.